So one of the things that Jeff and I talk about, and I'm going to pass it off to Jeff to ask some questions, is that we always talk about kind of you mentioned time management, but there's a lot of people, especially friends, that will say, I just don't have time for that. I just don't have time for that. I just don't have time for that, right? And we all talk about how important it is to have that time. What do you do when someone tells you they don't have the time? Because we have a multitude of things that we say, but since you're out there doing the same thing we are, I'd love to hear kind of what you do in terms of when you hear, because I'm assuming it's not unique to us, right? You probably hear that from people too, correct?
Yes. And, I'm gonna raise my hand and say I've done that many times myself where I said I just don't have the time, and it's very easy to fall into that and make that excuse, and I've done that countless amount of times. But I know, we're lucky enough, we've had some life experiences where okay, well, exactly what you need to do. It's just a matter of getting out there and doing it, and if you can speak frankly to those friends that say I just don't have the time, you just have to tell them, well, you have to make time because, you're in your 40s, and in X amount of years, you're going to be 50 and you're not going to have that time back to when you did. So, I guess throwing the guilt around and letting them know, like, hey, this is time is running out to be able to work with what you have.
It's a good point.
Yeah, it's kind of a dark, it's a dark way of saying things, but
Yep.
It's true.
Yeah, that's what you just got to get working on it. It's hard, right? If you haven't been doing it for a while, and that's the hardest part, right? That's what I tell people is, those first couple of weeks is going to be the hardest. You're going to be so sore. You're going to be hurting so bad.
Yes.
So get through that. You will get over the hump, and then you just got to make it a habit, right? So it's got to be part of your daily routine. And even if it's just like, getting moving, going for a walk in the morning to kind of get the juices flowing, and then kind of build up, to maybe a little bit of running or, cycling or something else, right? Or body weight work, whatever you want to do. So, but yeah, it's making those habits, right? And following through those every day.
That's huge.
Absolutely.
I guess the habit though is it's weird because like when I was traveling this summer all over the place, I didn't work out that's kind of where I was going with the questions earlier. Like I didn't work out nearly as much as I normally do when I was traveling, even though I tried to. I walked every day, I did all these things, but I didn't run or bike as much as I usually do. And I noticed when I got back, for about that first week and a half, I had that learning curve again, where I'd hit it hard and I'm like, holy crap, I'm sore, I'm tired, I'm kind of moody, I'm super hungry, all those things. And again, so I guess the main point of it is you don't want to ever fall out of that, try to stay in that zone because getting out of it is incredibly easy, especially the older you get, I've noticed, right? Like once now, if I don't work out even for a couple of days and I go back to it, I notice like, it's different. Like you got to stay on top of it, right?
Well, and you mentioned it, right? So two weeks, right, to get back into something. It's not an easy 2 weeks. There's some pains. There's some pain. There's some adjustment. It's like, okay, well, you kind of put yourself into that situation where you had to stop. But that's just that just kind of comes down to it's almost like what you're saying before about just taking that time to warm up and stretch because you have to. If you don't, you're just gonna feel pain or hurt yourself.
That's exactly right. And it's interesting because Kelly's cousin, who's I think 24, 25, really great kid, but he did something to his back. He's not even sure what he did. He was working out. He's not doing anything crazy, but hurt his back. And now they're in Greece. And his mom called us the other day and was like, I don't want to give his name because he may get upset over that. But anyways, it was like Maggie was like, hey, so-and-so is hurt his back. Do you have any suggestions for him? And I was like, do I not have any suggestions? I have a book I can share with you. I was like, I've hurt my back so many times, right? And it was funny because he was doing everything that almost, and kind of my other question I was going to ask you here is between Western and Eastern medicine. I think there's a nice hybrid there because all the doctors here were like, you need surgery, you need surgery, you need surgery. And when you're 24 or 25, what I was telling him is like, look, try everything else before you go that route because surgery is non-reversible, right? You can stretch, you can do yoga, you can do different poses, you can do different strengths, you can do different stretching, whatever it is, before you go that route. And, you can use massage guns, you can get massages, you can acupressure,
chiropractic, right?
Exactly. There's a million things you can do.
Core work.
Thank you. I forgot about the core work. I should have told him that.
It's huge. Huge.
It's anyways, but the point is that, there's a nice, we're always in the Western, we're always into the immediate solution. Whereas I think in the Eastern practices, they're more about kind of the, let's try this, let's try that, let's get to the real root cause of what it is and try to solve that. Do you think I'm accurate with that statement and kind of your experiences abroad?
Absolutely. And I'll even say this is before I even went abroad. So I'm a big proponent of acupuncture, and I don't under my Western mind still cannot fathom how it worked and how it's healed me. But I had a serious case of lockjaw. I mean, I remember jumping into a pool to swim some laps, and the water was a little bit cold, and all of a sudden I couldn't open my mouth. Like, I could probably open it up for maybe 2 inches. After that, it just locked up, and I was like, what is going on? Whoa. I saw my dentist. It's like, well, you grind your teeth at night. Well, you should probably use a night guard, which I do. But they said, but to heal that, I recommend getting acupuncture. So I saw an acupuncturist. I'd say 2 or 3 months of regular treatments with all the little electrodes and sticking these needles in all these random places, and all of a sudden it was gone, and I haven't had any issues since. So I mean, I think that's one thing. Living overseas and I remember seeing these on some of the travel shows where you'd go into some of the Eastern medicine shops, and right away, you see these guys that'll come out with like, oh, hey, you should try this and that, and here's some deer penis, and that's going to help you with your man energy. And when my parents came to visit, same thing. My dad was just like, they recommend, oh, you should take this. This is for man energy, and they winked at him. I mean, he didn't try it out, but I mean, looking at that, of course, it's just like they have an answer, and maybe it works, maybe it doesn't, but hey, it's an option rather than getting cut open and doing, and trying to fix it that way.
I totally agree with you. Totally agree with you.
But I know we've taken quite a bit of time here, but yeah, just kind of one question I was thinking through conversation here, Gino, was just, is there maybe 2 or 3 like key things that you bring with you on travel to help you with, fitness or wellness or, nutrition? Is there some things you just don't leave home without when you're traveling abroad?
Ooh, that's a very good question. I think, when you travel, I think now in today's day and age, I mean, fitness is at the push of a button. So, I mean, as long as you have, and I mentioned earlier, I have a Peloton. I have access to a lot of their content, and not just not just them, but so many other companies out there. You could, as long as you have Wi-Fi, you could stream a certain workout, and even now with some of these companies, you can download a workout. So I mean, I think having connectivity to something is key, and and if you don't, maybe you don't have Wi-Fi, but if you have something on, we're probably past the days of carrying a DVD, but I did used to bring some workout DVDs sometimes, and I would use that. But now I could just throw it up on my smartphone or tablet and do a workout that way. In terms of,
was that DVD
food,
Sweat to the Oldies?
That's exactly what I was going to ask.
Oh, say you're interested.
No, it was P90X.
Oh, that's right. They had the whole series. That's right.
Oh yeah, it was P90X. It was Insanity. The Beachbody Insanity. That was always a good one.
Right. That's tough stuff.
I'll say this, but depending on where you go, though, I will say this is make sure you know what the situation is with the water. Some places they even a lot of these hotels. I was like, wow, they give you a lot of bottled water, but it's because they don't want you ingesting, the tap water. And this is at a 5-star hotel. They still put out all these bottles of water for you to brush your teeth and rinse with the bottled water. So just make sure that your water source is covered. Whether that just means going to the local 7-Eleven, which they actually have a lot of out there in Asia. Really? I used to pay my bills at 7-Eleven. That's a whole other story. But having access to clean water is key.
Absolutely. Whenever I've traveled, I haven't done a lot of international travel. When I have, we always get the bottled water everywhere we go because you just never know, right? And you don't want to get sick and try
Yep.
to minimize your exposure, right, as much as possible when you're in different countries.
Exactly.
Because the worst part is anything GI tract happens like that. It's not
Especially
one of
to
those things that- Well, I've got a very sensitive between here and here. Yes,
Yeah.
apparently. Awesome. Well, fellas, listen,
Yes.
I think that's great. Jeff, any other questions before we drop?
I think it's good, Matt. I really appreciate your time, Gino, taking the time to talk with us. And I'm sure we could go on and on, so many stories. But appreciate some of the tips and guidance you've discussed today, and we'll get you on another future episode of Purely Awesome Dads here.
No, it's a pleasure. Thanks guys for having me. I do owe you a picture of some interesting street signs, and I will get that
Love
out
it.
to you guys. But, again, thanks for having me on.
Awesome. Well, thank you. Thanks to the audience, and look forward to seeing you guys here next week at the same time. Thank you. I mean, Lake Charles, we went there
What's up,
in
fellas?
November of last year. What up, Jeff?
There we go. What's going on?
Hey, dude.
Hey Jeff.
How's it going, Gino?
So
Nice to
Gino,
meet you.
Jeff.
Yeah,
Jeff,
nice
I
to meet
feel,
you.
I feel so underdressed.
Well, that's usual.
So
It's a preschool connection. The preschool
It is,
connection is
no.
what brings parents together.
Totally.
Yeah.
And here's this crazy guy with crazy hair. And I was like, nice haircut, dude.
He had the long hair. You should have
we
seen
kicked
when he
it
had the
off.
long hair. He had the long hair for a while.
I've seen the high school photos. They are fantastic.
Yeah.
Love it.
Not my finest moment, but hey, you live and learn, right?